At the end of 30 years, what's his yield going to be? It sounds so incredible to pay $50,000 for a UPB, a note with a balance of 147. That's 33 cents on the dollar, right? And he's still only making not even 12.5% yield on that. Isn't that nuts? Well, it's a family situation. So basically, welcome to Property and Paper Live. This is Dawn Rickaba, owner of NoteQueen.com, and here is where we talk about real estate, seller financing, and note investing, because they're all just different sides of the same thing, different edges of the same gem, so to speak. So I really like bringing the holistic viewpoint where we just don't have real estate investing, we just don't have note investing. We talk about this dance between property and paper and how we really make that work into a very holistic community model. Particularly is my favorite to talk about. But anyway, when you understand seller financing and the secondary market for notes, there's almost nothing you can't make happen. So whether you're a real estate agent and you want to know how to close more deals, I just got an email today. I think the headline was something like, the market is like officially frozen. Buyers are refusing to show up and all these things. So there's some areas of the market where, my goodness, if you don't have some of these tools and you don't know how to do it correctly, legally, compliantly, I don't know how you're going to make the market go around. People, it's us in these rooms are the ones that are going to make the market go around when liquidity stops, when, all these different market factors are just making it impossible. So I would highly suggest that you tune into this conversation. Maybe even hire me for a one-on-one if you've got a particular situation right in front of you right now, or you're a landlord and you want to sell to your tenant, or you're a tenant and you want to ask your landlord to carry paper for you. Boom, an hour with me will make or save you thousands. I can guarantee that. It's much, much cheaper than the price of a real estate commission. But not to doing real estate commissions, because I am an agent now, and I've hooked up with Megan Presti in Carson City, and we're going to be teaming up together. So that's fun. So if you haven't already and you're listening to this on YouTube or podcast, please subscribe and like. That's what I'm supposed to say. But go over to NoteQueen.com and sign up and become a citizen of the realm, or just tap in. There's a lot of emails that I send out that will just give a little insights and usually discounts to things. And today, because we're focusing on a note deal that I bought off of Craigslist, the special discount that I'm going to have today is going to be on let me share this right now, note investing for newbies. So if you're new to notes and the secondary market for notes, I would suggest that you come over here and you're going to get a 50% off discount by the end of this call. But it's just a great place to start. And it's where I talk about, hey, you know what? I have bought notes off of Craigslist, probably 3, not a ton, but it's all right. Craigslist was free, right? So anyway, I'll have a temporary discount for this book, but it gives a lot of fun for even people. I kind of tried to make it fun and sort of funny, so that if all this language is really tough to get through, I think this will be a very friendly way to start. So just that. So I'm going to share bring up my calculator if I can find it, because it hides once I'm on here. So, all right. So this was the deal. So how did I find it on Craigslist? I set up an automatic search so that if any of that wording comes up, I automatically get notified into my email. So I was at the gym. I just got to the gym at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I worked out 10 minutes, got that thing. No, and I didn't get my workout done because boom, I went and bought a note right then. It was on a mobile home, a little one. This isn't the one I was going to talk about, but this is a good one. It was I only paid $7,000 for this note, and I think it turned out to be a 15 or 18% yield. And it turned out to be a great little situation. And I ended up owning the mobile home for a little bit, then reselling it to somebody else who they got a good deal. And I kept getting more of a good deal. Just little bits of money can go a long way if you're the deal maker, right? It wouldn't have made a lot of sense for me to try to bring someone in with 6,000, so I only had to put down 7,000 or something like that. I had a conversation about that with someone. It's like, yes, you can find deals where you can put a very little bit of money and make it go a long way in the note business, but you have to kind of be the deal maker, which is in itself a whole business. This other one, I saw it come through, and here's the way that, and this was pre-COVID. This was might have been 2016 even. My God, 10 years? 9 or 10 years ago. And so the price of this mobile home on land, but it's right in Carson City, right? One of our just a couple miles from anywhere we are in Carson City. And it was probably worth 100 to 120, something like that. And the note was for this, 147,555. This was the note. And it was sticky because it was a family situation. So what had happened is this person who got this note got a 30-year note that looked like this. Yep. You see that? So the loan amount was 147,555 on something that was worth maybe 100. And the balloon payment due in 30 years was 147,555. So what does that tell you?
Interest only.
Interest only. So it was a very, number one, it was upside down in terms of equity position. And number two, it's a really small payment, monthly payment. And all that, that balloon, you have to wait a really long time for. And the interest rate is also very low. So let's just say this was a brand new note, and we're not going to talk about all the other issues that we normally would. But if you just got this note right here, and the cash value of the property was 100,000, tell me what you'd pay for this note. How much of a yield? What's the most you're going to pay? First, we always go, what's the maximum investment to value that our risk? We figure out our risk because we want return of our principal even more than we want return on investment, right? So based on $100,000 cash is value of the property, what's the most that you would risk against this asset?
The land is included? This isn't
Land is included, mobile home secured. It was secured. I want to say it was. Yeah, there wasn't a separate title.
I mean, myself, I would figure about 50 cents on the 50 cents of the value, 50% of the value of the property.
Okay,
simply because the mobile home part is going to depreciate fast.
Right. And there hasn't, like, we're not needing to go into the weeds on this, but as it happens, there was no maintenance. There's a lot of deferred maintenance, right, on this property. All right, so $50,000. That's before he goes, how much do I want to make? What's my yield? He's not even gotten there. He got there. 50,000 is the most I'm going to risk against this property. So that's the most he can pay. So if he bought the whole note, and he gets, for $50,000, he gets 360 of these, 491.85, and he gets one payment of this, 147,555, at the end of 30 years. What's his yield going to be? It sounds so incredible to pay $50,000 for a UPB, a note with a balance of 147. That's 33 cents on the dollar, right? And he's still only making not even 12.5% yield on that. Isn't that nuts? Well, it's a family situation. So basically, this was basically the borrower, the owner of the property said, well, this is my inheritance, and I know you ain't going to kick me out, so I'm not going to pay. So he wasn't paying. He wasn't even paying the 491.85 because he's like, you owe me this. I'm your heir and beneficiary. You're not going to foreclose on me. right? So after 5 years of this business, anyway, they're saying we're sick of him. You know, all the family dynamics were messy, and they said we're going to sell this note because I know we are not going to foreclose on it, but someone might. So basically, I bought it for I did this. I did 55,000. But as it was, there wasn't 30 years left. It was already, I think he'd paid part of it, but we weren't even going to reclaim past interest that he hadn't paid. We were just taking it face value going forward. That was part of the agreement with the note seller. Also, they said, hey, if this pays off in the next 3 years, can you bump us an extra 5 or 10 grand on this? And I go, okay, that's fair enough, because I'd still do all right, right? If I got a payoff of 147 somehow within, and I could afford to give an extra 10 grand, right? So that was the deal. Hey, if by some miracle he sells it and goes away. So we just made the deal work for everybody. Turns out it ran a while, and what did it have? It paid on 17 years since it had been going on. So I came in with, I think, 13 years left to go. So times 12. So I think there was 156 payments left, and I paid 55. So to get 156 of these payments at 491.85 each, and at the end of 113 years, I was supposed to get this. What was my yield there? Okay, a lot better. Why? I'm paying more than David said he would just pay. So why is my yield almost 15% and David's was only 12 and a half? What made the difference?
The remaining years.
Yep, because I'm a lot sooner to that balloon payment of 147,555 than David was, assuming we had 30 years to go. So you can see that time value of money, that the farther away a payment is due to come in, the less it's worth.
I'm curious, the 156, does that include the months that weren't paid?
No, this is when I took it over. It's like this was what he owes me. So my job, I wasn't
I
allowed
gotcha.
to it was just such a, there was no professional servicing. There was no this,
Right.
that, and the other. It was just like, here's messy. Just see if you can start collecting on it. And so you
Okay.
can imagine someone who feels entitled to the property and hasn't had to pay a penny toward it except for taxes and insurance. And insurance was debatable. How happy do you think they were to get my phone call?
Yeah, that actually brings up another question. You mentioned insurance. So as soon as you bought it, did you put your own insurance on it?
Um, no, actually, you know what? I don't remember. But if I
Okay.
had to, I would have placed forced place insurance. But with mobile homes, it's kind of like somewhat debatable. I know like the land value was more than 55,000.
55. Okay.
You know what I
Got
mean?
it.
Like, okay, you
Yeah.
get insurance on these old mobile homes and like, what's it really worth? What are they really going to pay out? It's kind
Yeah.
of like, eh. But I think I must have gotten that going because I know I didn't do forced place insurance. So I must have made him get it. I just don't
Okay.
remember at this point. But
Yep.
that's a great question. Very good question. So anyhow, he feels entitled to the property. This was his de facto like inheritance in his mind, right? And nobody's going to foreclose on me anyway. So I say, I get this. And keep in mind, I had to deal with it. So I'm basically front running in a very awkward situation for this family. So they still have a remainder interest potentially, right? If it would have paid out in a certain period of time. But that's very common where people are like, this is sticky, this is messy. I can't be the one to be the bad guy in this. And so in situations like this, okay, I'm going to be the bad guy. But I'm fronting for the people in the back who are still, have something to get out of it, but nobody's the wiser, right? The borrower doesn't know that I have a private agreement to give the note seller more or remainder interest or something like that. So it's a very good use case in general, just to think of like, why take a ginormous a ginormous discount on something, if you can pay someone or partner with someone like me or other people you may know to say, hey, you know, I've even said with some situations that were non-performing, hey, I'll just buy the next 2 years worth of payments. And then all that remainder interest is yours, but I'll be the one to do the dirty work, so to speak, right? I think we talked about this probably just two times ago or something. But anyhow, so I'm getting on a plane and I remember he's so angry. You can't, you can't buy this note because it's non-performing. And you know what? This property isn't even worth it. And I go, okay. Anyway, so we had these contortions and then he got a letter in the mail and then he decided it was worth paying the 491.85. So that went along and went along and went along. And I think so that must have been if that was 2016-ish. I want to say this paid off in 2022. So my yield was a lot better than that, right? So I only had to wait. What would that have been? Help me with the math real fast, guys. If this is 13 years, so it only went six years, so 72 payments. Okay. So it was about 6 years of payments, somewhere like this, that I got 72 payments of this and then one big payment of this. And by then, what had happened? The property was not worth 100. What was it worth? 21, 22? It was worth 200, north of 200,000. So now did I have protective equity? Yep. So the guy couldn't even get me on a short sale. All right. So my yield turned up to close to 24% on this deal. And that was just Craigslist and being there and having a presence. Oh, here's my website. It's, so it's legitimizing. You look like a real person. People like to see that you've been around a while, that you're trustworthy. And ultimately, you can come in and get these really messy situations that aren't really that messy for a neutral third party, but are very awkward for families and friends and things like that. So that's basically how that worked out. I remember that what I was trying to do when I first, because I didn't want to wait 13 years for all my money, because even 15 was fine. But remember, in the early times, I'm going, I really am upside down. So I would like to incentivize this guy. I would like to incentivize him to pay me more. And so at some point I said, look, I'll drop I was going to do something. I want to say it was either I'll reduce the principal amount owed if you'll pay something like $1,200 a month. I was going to drop the interest rate and drop the principal. So by the end, let me see if I did it over 10 years, if this makes sense. I fully amortized it. It might have been something real close to this, where I said, look, I'll drop your principal amount. I'll drop your interest rate if you'll pay $1,200 a month for 10 years instead, or it might be a little more. Yeah, that's probably more like it, right? If you can pay $1,200 a month, right? I'll fully amortize it. You won't have that nasty balloon hanging over your head. And he said, no, go stuff it. And I wonder what would I have made if he took that offer, if at my 55,000, what would I have made? Well, shoot, turned out to be about the same, 24% return. Isn't that interesting? But anyway, that's just a story from the realm. Any questions, comments, just on this before we move on?
Did you go look at it at all, or just did this
Yeah, I
all?
drove by.
Oh,
I drove
okay.
by. I didn't go in. I didn't knock on the door.
Yeah. Okay.
He's a big man. I did,
Yeah.
and his voice is very gruff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't need to meet you in person. Because
That
at
would
the
be my
price I was
fault.
in, it was land value,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And it's just like in my backyard. So
Yeah.
things that I wouldn't, maybe, I don't know if I would do the exact same thing. There's things I will do in my backyard market that I wouldn't necessarily do halfway across the country.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then my son ended up getting right next street over in the same subdivision. I ended up getting an owner finance deal for a mobile on land, luckily pre-COVID. And so basically he was just one street over on the cul-de-sac. And so I was like, oh, you can look out your back fence and keep an eye on this property for me. Yeah, I got my son into that with just 20,000 down, which he had because he followed my advice. I got him into a mobile home first, and he did everything I told him. You're gonna learn to be an owner, to take care of things, and if you do everything that I tell you to do, it will work out well for you. And so then he was able to sell his mobile home, had appreciated a lot. So his 2,000 he put down and gave to me turned into a 20,000 down payment by the time he sold his mobile home in a park and got into this mobile home on land. And, yes, I helped him, get into it, but he fully qualified himself by being responsible and doing everything I told him to do. Lucky for him because, his PITI is half what you could rent a 1-bedroom apartment for right now. It's crazy. Right? Or two bedroom. But anyway,
You got to give them credit for listening to you.
yes. Yeah, like when does that happen?
I don't know. That
Your
must
kids
happen
like
after
listen to you?
must happen after their teenage years.
Yeah, so he'd scrimped on I gotta hand it to him. He wasn't he on his budget, minimum wage budget, he made it. He saved up $8,000 on a minimum wage budget and living in an apartment, sharing it with 3 guys.
Yeah.
They put up cardboard walls to share them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever it took, stamping or, fluffing off the roaches from the plates so he could eat his dinner. I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things, but he did it, he was on his own.
That's great.
Put together $8,000 and I'm like, dude, that's impressive. So yeah, put down 2,000 on this mobile home. That was back in the day when I was doing that big project over in on Coons Lane. For those that are local, I brought a bunch of older mobile homes down from Lake Tahoe where they were shutting down a big park up there, and I filled up a bunch of spaces in a local mobile home park, and I sold one of them to him on terms. It was a fair price. He got below market interest rate, I will tell you that. But anyway, he learned to be an owner, and that 2,000 turned into 20,000 owner carry on a deal. So that was really great.
So you bought the mobile homes from that park at State Line?
They paid me to take them away.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you get them all or just some?
No. I wish I'd had the pick. I was not the first to get the pick of the cream of the crop, but I brought down 16 of them.
Okay.
16 brought down. They paid me to get them away, and then the park paid me. They reimbursed me for all the moving costs when I was done.
Okay.
And they didn't charge me any space rent.
I was wondering who ended up with some of those.
Yeah, the best ones went to somebody else, not me, but I got ones that were, some were better than others.
So somewhere in the back of my memory, Jack Miller was involved in that park at one point in time.
Really?
He had property at Incline, and he was, and I remember a conversation in one of his seminars about that park.
Wow, that's really
I don't know if that was the time I asked a question, and I asked some question, and Jack Miller said.
Thank you so much for engaging with my content. If you'd like to participate live and hear the rest of the replay, please go over and join our free community, citizensoftherealm.com. Hope to see you around the queendom. Take care. Take this information and go out there and create financial solutions just one mom and pop to another. See you next time. Take care, everybody.